Hey everyone! So, Bakuage Sentai Boonboomger just finished airing. The final episode came out today, and I watched it this morning. At the time that I'm recording this, it's been a few hours since I've watched it. I've let my thoughts simmer, and now I just really want to talk about this show. I kind of wanted to make this a thing, just a series, just me talking about stuff I like, shows I like. Maybe I'll even talk about Sentai things as they release. I'll talk about the Go-Juju premiere. I'll talk about the Boonboomger King-Oger team-up that's coming up. So, I'm not really entirely sure where to begin here. I want to give my overall thoughts on this show and on the finale and on just everything. Starting off, I didn't really expect this show to be that good back when we first heard about it. If only because I think the suits immediately left a bad impression on me. They've grown on me. They've grown on me a lot, but the first time the suits were revealed, especially I'm gonna put this up on the screen. Remember that sketch of the suit that was like one of the first exposures anyone had to what the suits actually looked like, and it looked so bad. I still think that sketch looks bad. And I think it's not. I mean, the sketch itself isn't bad. It's well drawn, but I think the suit on the sketch looks really bad, and I think it doesn't help that it's drawn. I think it looks a lot better, on the actual physical suit. But that definitely didn't leave me with very high expectations for. It didn't give me a good first impression. And the more we learned about the show, we learned that it would be a little bit more back to basics, which was good. We learned when the character descriptions came out. I also wasn't super into some of the characters. It seemed very kind of generic and surface level, which ultimately wasn't the case, which I'm very excited about. But yeah, I really wasn't very looking forward. I mean, Sentai has been on a great streak since Hero Major, so I was ready for a good show. I was thinking that there was a possibility and a probability that it was going to be good, but I wasn't super excited for it. I wasn't immediately into it like I was with King-Oger before it. Still, I was very glad to be proven wrong. Boonboomger is a great show. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very fun. I really like all the characters. I really enjoyed the story. I really like the opening. I really like the suits. They've grown on me a lot. I'm very glad that the show was actually good. I still don't think it's as good as the previous few shows. Overall, I think it was the weakest of the Reiwa era so far, maybe tied with Kira Major. And listen, I love Kira Major. I do. But it's been a few years since I watched it. I really want to rewatch that show someday. But when it comes to the Reiwa era, it's been so big, experimental, everything, we've had so many weirdly amazing shows like Zenkaiger, Dawn Brothers, King-Oger, that going back to a normal-esque Sentai it felt a little jarring, but in a good way. It was definitely a needed change of pace from King-Oger. And, comparing it to Kira Major, because that's the closest thing I can compare it to, I still think I might like Kira Major a little more, but that might just be nostalgia, because Kira Major was my first Sentai, so there's a lot of fondness there on that level, and I just think Kira Major is a great show in general, but as the first Sentai that I ever watched, at least the first Sentai I ever watched live as it aired, I definitely have a bit of a bias towards Kira Major. So I can't really say if Boonboomger is better. I think overall Boonboomger is probably a better show than Kira Major. So I guess I'm just gonna start talking about everything that I think about this show, starting with I guess the opening, which is really good. Masaki Endo comes back. He did Aba Ranger's opening, which is another one of my favorites. This opening's a ton of fun. It gets me hyped up for the show. Masaki Endo's very good at that. It took a little growing on me as well, much like a lot of things in this one. And initially, I never thought it was bad, but I definitely started liking it more later on into the show. I also really like the ending theme in this one. I know a lot of people don't, which is, I get it. It's a dance ending. That's not everyone's cup of tea, but I personally don't mind them, and I just think the song is really catchy. I love Bundorio's vocals. I don't know, it's just a very fun vibe. I love the little carpool karaoke thing they do. I also really liked the little PSAs they had in the middle of the outro, where they would tell you about safe driving and everything. I thought that was fun and cute. Now, I think one of the things that really makes this show so good, and, the thing that usually makes Sentai's good for me, is the cast. I really like all these characters. Taya is great. I was hesitant about him at first, because again, when we first read the descriptions for these characters, it said that Taya was a hot-blooded, passionate Red Ranger, and everyone immediately was terrified, like, oh god, he's gonna be Sosuke too, isn't he? He's gonna be... Speaking of which, I'll get to Sosuke, because we'll talk about him here as well, but I was worried that Taya was gonna be like a loudmouth, annoying Red like that. I usually don't mind annoying Reds, by the way. I need you to understand something. I don't usually dislike Reds who are loud and, like, passionate and boisterous. I like Ban from Deca Ranger. I love John from Geki Ranger. And I love Kaito from Zenkaiger. And Juru from Kira Major. I think those are all great characters. But my problem with Sosuke is that he was kind of an asshole. I'll, again, save it for the Go-onger retrospective that I'll do years later, but... I was worried that Taya would end up being kind of like that. But, no. Taya is shockingly... Just from the first episode, we immediately realized Taya is just a... I don't want to say just a chill guy, because that's a kind of a meme now. But yeah, he is very chill. He's very laid back and cool. But, and you know, the passionateness, the hot-bloodedness is inside. You know, it's a deeper part of his character that comes out when he's riled up, and I love it. I really do. I think Taya is a great character. He is a little bit, I don't know, compared to other Reds, I don't think he's quite so interesting. You know, I like Taya a lot, but he definitely doesn't have the same great, like, character development or really, like, depth that I really liked from some of the previous Reds, particularly Gira, his direct predecessor, who I just absolutely adored. Still, though, Taya is cool, and I like that he's... I really like the joke that they make with him. The main running gag is that he's so damn rich, he can just buy entire stores on a whim, and it doesn't even, like, no one even questions it. I love that. I think that's really funny. Then we have Chashiro, Boon Blue, who, boy, this guy was a ride. I like Chashiro. I always liked Chashiro, I thought, but I honestly think Chashiro's probably my least favorite of the Boonboomger cast. I like him a lot, but he's definitely not my favorite character. I don't know, maybe it's just, I need some time to let some of the feelings from the last few episodes simmer down. Oh yeah, by the way, this is gonna be like a big spoiler review, just in case you thought. I am gonna go into detail about every, like, major plot thread in this show and talk about it. So if you haven't finished this show, if you need time, go back, watch all the episodes, and then come back to this. Go do that. Anyway, Chashiro's quote-unquote, like, betrayal, I thought was well handled. It was definitely shocking in the moment. And I like the ultimate reveal that, it was actually all just a plan, that he was, like, working with Taya the entire time, which, you know, it makes sense. It's about what I expected. I really like the trope of Blue Rangers that are super duper, like, loyal to the Red. I think that's really cool. Like, two of my favorite blues in all of Sentai are Joe from Gokaiger and Ryunosuke from Shinkenger. I really like that about them, and I think Chashiro definitely has that going for him as well. And I like that he never actually betrayed the team. But it was hard not to be a little mad at him when the reveal originally came, because it did seem like, he did a good job making it seem like he was actually going rogue. And also, he kind of directly caused Budorio's death, which, indirectly, I mean... Which is, he made up for it, and Bondorio came back and forgave him. It's fine. There is one character that the entire show kind of revolves around. Not really. Like, this is a Sentai. All the characters get their time to shine. But, like, I think Mira is kind of our pseudo-protagonist, at least for the beginning and end of the show. She is the character, like... She is the outsider looking in. That's how she's introduced, because, like, by the time... in the first episode, like, Taya and Chashiro are already the Boonboomgers, and Mira is the first one that joins the team in the show. She joins, she sees them transform and fight, and she's like, I want to do that. And I really like Mira's entire arc and how it ties into the major theme of the show, which is taking your own wheel, keeping your hands on the wheel. They say this constantly. They beat you in the head with this theme, but I think it works. Mira's entire character is about, like, not letting people decide for her what she's gonna do. She wants to make her own decisions, and I love that. And I love that it comes full circle when she starts it's like George Lucas, it's like poetry, it rhymes. She starts the show being saved by Taya from a wedding that she doesn't want to be in, And then she finishes the show again being saved by Taya from marrying Spindo, except this time she's not just being saved without knowing what's going on. She was like, in the first episode, it was her boyfriend that like hired Taya to save her from the arranged marriage, whereas in this episode she is the one of the people who comes up with the plan. You know, she is colluding with Taya to like crash the wedding and take out Spindo, and I really like that. I think Mira is a great character. She's definitely, I don't know if she's one of my favorite Pinks, but she is very good. In terms of characters, I think the character who probably got the least development overall was Joe Black. But despite this, he's still great because he just has that personality that I love. You know, he's kind of the comedic one, but he's also very he's very passionate. He's very set in his ways. He has a good sense of what's right and wrong. He's a police officer, and I really like Joe. I just thought he was great, despite the fact that he didn't get quite as much outward story relevance as the others. But you know, he's just fun. He's always good to be around. He's a fun character to have, and he did have some great moments. He had some spectacular focus episodes, particularly like he had that episode early on with the monster that kind of became his pet sort of, and he got like super sad when he had to defeat it. I really, honestly, one of my favorite Joe moments, and I think this is something that I can say for some of the characters in this cast as well, or at least particularly two of them, Joe and Sakito, where I think my favorite moments from them came in the final episodes. Like Joe resigning from the police force, quitting, and then his whole speech about how no matter if it's like seen as right or wrong, he'll still do what he believes is right. He'll fight to protect people. I really liked that, and I really liked the effect that it had on the other police officers. You can tell they're like starting to doubt their own resolve. Like, should we really be arresting the Boonboomgers when they're saying stuff like this? Speaking of Sakito, I guess I'll just get to him now because I just talked about him. He also, Sakito originally had a problem that I think a lot of Sixth Rangers do, which is that he's not a bad character in any way, but he doesn't feel as memorable. He's not like as much of a part of the gang as the others. This is something that I have with like Mega Silver from Mega Ranger. I adore Mega Ranger. I will forever defend that show. I love it to death. But honestly, I don't understand people who say that Mega Silver is one of their favorite Six Rangers, because he was, for me, the least memorable character in that show. And I think Sakito felt like he was going in that direction initially. And I don't think he quite lives up to some of the best Six Rangers in the series for me, but I really, really liked him in the end. Him doing the Shadow the Hedgehog thing where he's like, if the world chooses to be my enemy, then I will fight with all I've got. Like, I really liked that. I really liked him and Boon D just wrecking shop, taking out the Boon Killer robots, and then ultimately, I don't know, I liked his arc of coming in, being super dismissive of everyone, and learning to love the Earth, learning to love living on Earth, and ultimately deciding to stay on Earth again. I thought that was really cool. Sakito is pretty good. I like him. Now, the only character that I haven't mentioned yet is Genba, Boon Orange, and he is a complicated one. I don't really know what to say about him. I like him a lot. I think his arc could have been handled a little bit better. Because honestly, I mean, I think the arc itself was handled well. I really liked his, the episodes where he left the team temporarily in order to because he was like distracted by his revenge quest against Disrace. I liked that, but I feel like it came a little out of nowhere. Like, Genba is introduced in the show as the super chill, procurer. He procures items for Taya, and he's always there when you need him. He's always like, there's many scenes early on in the show where the Boonboomgers are like, before he even joins the team, like he's already there. The Boonboomgers are in trouble, and Genba comes in with like the freaking sewer grate that he loves so much that he just throws at monsters. And then, like, the moment Disrace comes in, he just freaking loses it, and we suddenly learn that, oh, this whole time he's been an alien, and he, this race wiped out his entire planet and killed his family and everything. And he also, the reason he keeps eating lollipops is because he needs that, like, he needs that. I don't actually remember the exact explanation. Was it like that he needs the sugar in order to survive on Earth or something? That's why he keeps eating lollipops. But it went from, like, his lollipops went from just, like, it's a fun character trait he has. He always has a lollipop, to suddenly this is a pivotal part of him, that suddenly we have an entire backstory for why he needs to do this. And, I really liked everything that happened after that. I really liked, but I think it did come out of nowhere a little. It went about too fast. Like, 1 second he's just chill, good old Genba, and then the next he's screaming in rage at Disrace. We didn't have, like, there was no hint about this before. The show didn't hint at all at him possibly having a little bit more history with the Hashiriyans. So yeah, I like Genba a lot, but I after the arc is done, he just becomes the chill guy again. I'm just rambling at this point. I do like Genba a lot, but I feel like, yeah, his arc could have been handled better. That's pretty much what I'm trying to say here. And then we actually have two, I guess we could call them extra heroes, but they're also mechs. Bundorio Bunderas, which I still haven't freaking gotten used to that name. It's so stupid, I'm sorry. And Bune Diesel. Let's start with Bune, because he has a little less to do. So Bune, he comes in as Sakito's partner in crime. He's the other cleaner. He comes in at the same time as him. He apparently has history with Bundorio. The two of them raced together. I like Bune Diesel. I don't really know. There's not really much to say there. I don't really think he's all that special or interesting. I liked his dynamic with Sakito. I liked his dynamic with Bundorio. I really liked... The one scene that I really liked from him was when he offered to use his own body to, like, stabilize Bundorio when he was in critical condition and dying and whatever, so that they could revive him. I liked that. Ultimately, I think BMD left not that much of an impression on me. He was good. And I like his design. I like his mech form. I think he looks really cool. The biker helmet. But then we have Bundorio Bunderas, who is actually awesome. I love Bundorio. He's so good. He's genuinely such a, like, nice person. He is, he's kind of the guy in the chair when it comes to the Boonboomgers. When they're not using the mech, he's always sitting back at base, giving them information, usually upgrading their weapons. He's the one who made a lot of their gear, and he also makes some mean curry, which looks delicious, and I really want to eat it. I'm pretty sure there's a Super Sentai restaurant in Japan. One day I want to go to Japan. I want to go to the Super Sentai restaurant, and I'm pretty sure they do have Bundorio's curry as a menu option. I want that. And I want to try Daita's curry as well from Go Ranger. Anyway, let's get back to Bundorio. He's just great. I really liked his relationship with Taya. I also liked his dynamic with Shirabe, who I should probably talk about. I'm going to talk about the ISA as a whole, because they're a whole can of worms. But, Bundorio's awesome. He's just the best. He's also voiced by Ash Ketchum. There's a lot of Pokemon influence in Boonboomger. The main writer was a writer for Pokemon back in the 90s for the Pokemon anime. Bundorio is voiced by Ash's voice actress. And the three goons, the Suns Eaters, are basically just Sentai equivalent of Team Rocket, which I'll get to them too when we talk about the villains. So yeah, let's go Shirabe. Let's talk about Shirabe. I like her. I don't know. Shirabe could have been a little better, I think. I really like her. I do. I like that she has this hidden softer side to her. She's introduced as, like, this stone cold, basically agent she originally starts off antagonistic, trying to hamper the Boonboomgers, but she ultimately joins their side when she realizes how great their cause is, and she falls in love with Bundorio, which was, I think it's cute and all that she has that side to her, but I also think the joke of her simping for Bundorio constantly was extremely overplayed and honestly got kind of old really quick. Particularly, no judgment towards the actress at all, but I don't know. Every time she went on, like, her Zama, like those little, I don't know, it just annoyed me. I like her. I still do like her. I just think if they had toned that down a little bit more, I would have liked her even more. I do like how she ultimately helps them win in the end. Her, like, pretty much overtaking ISA, taking down the director, arresting him, and just, she is great. Like, she is very loyal to the Boonboomgers. So yeah, Shirabe's pretty great. Let's talk about the villains now, I guess, because there's a lot to say. I guess we can talk about the ISA here, since they become the villains by the end. The ISA are like the big twist villains, I suppose, of this, because they're the agency that Shirabe works for, but she's pretty much, she's not involved in the bad stuff they're doing. She doesn't know. The directors. There's also Lightning Tech that I have to talk to. So the director is... I genuinely do not remember the director's name. I'm sorry, I forgot. But Tokoyari, right? That was his name. Yes, Tokoyari. I don't remember his first name, but he was working behind the scenes, colluding with Spindo and the Hashiriyans to gain power. And I really like that they end up having... I don't know, something about... There's something very topical about one of the big villains being just this greedy CEO who works with the bad guys just to gain power selfishly. Speaking of CEOs, there's also Naito Raita, who's the CEO of Lightning Tech, who is pretty much starts off as kind of a mentor / father figure to Taya, but is ultimately revealed to also be working with the Hashiriyans. And he is a manipulative little bitch, and I love it. The actor played it very well. There's something very, I don't know. I love it when an actor manages to like portray a character in a way that genuinely makes me want to punch him in the face every time he speaks. And that's kind of what Raita was like. Again, the big final arc of Boonboomger of the ISA, like essentially framing the Boonboomgers and saying they're the bad guys and convincing the public. Yeah, that was really well done drama. I really liked what they did with that. I liked seeing the Boonboomgers kind of on the run, but ultimately deciding that, it doesn't matter what people think of us. We will fight for what we always have, and we'll defeat the Hashiriyans. Speaking of which, the Hashiriyans, let's talk about those. Starting with Team Rocket, aka the Sense Eaters. I always forget so there's Itasha. I need to genuinely look up the name. I'm sorry, I always forget. Toraidon? Was it Toraidon? Hang on, I need to... Deko Toraid and Itasha and Yeye Yarukar. I love these three. I really do. They are great. I love how much they love each other. I like that they got a redemption arc in the end, which... I don't know. That was one of the most obvious things ever. Like, that was one of the first things people started predicting from episode 1, that, these three goofballs are definitely gonna, like, stop being villains at the end of the show, and that is what happened, and I like that. I just really... I don't know. You could tell immediately, like, these three are way too nice to be villains. They all clearly love each other. They're very nice to each other. Both Itasha and Deko Trade, like, they're so caring towards Yarukar. I love Yarukar, man. He's so cute. I'm sorry. He's just adorable. He's just a little guy. And these three are also very funny. They had some very good comedic moments. I like how they were always the underdogs, And they also tie this every character in the show pretty much has that theme of taking your own wheel. They tie into that as well when they ultimately choose to not subject themselves to the Hashiriyan higher-ups' abuse. They don't want to be just the goons anymore. They will make their own decision. They will become their own people. They make their own choice to leave and start a new life, and I love it. I also was really sad when it looked like they sacrificed themselves and died, but thankfully they survived. So yeah, the Hashiriyan, the Sands Eaters are just great, and I adore them. We also have a couple of generals to talk about. Mad Rex and Disrace. I'll talk about them both because they both play a similar role. Oh yeah, there's also the other guy. Hang on, who was the other guy called? What was the other guy called? So, Cannonborg. There's Cannonborg and Demon Thunder. So, let's start with Mad Rex because he's the first one we meet. He's pretty awesome. He is basically Taya's rival, and pretty much all of the generals have a specific rivalry with another character. Well, not really. Mad Rex, I don't know, I liked him. I don't really think... I also liked what he did for the Sense Eaters arc. They really respected him, they loved him, and He was the first one. He was the one who actually brought them out of the slump that they were in originally. And I like that even after he died, he was always constantly mentioned by them. But that said, he did die early on. So he did get brought back. I liked that arc. I liked that series of episodes where he was like hypnotized, mind controlled by Disrace. And I liked the Sense Eater's attempts at bringing him back. But ultimately, I do think, he didn't have enough screen time to really leave an impression on me. He was just kind of cool and intimidating, and he was a powerful threat. I loved his fight scene with his final fight scene with Taya. Like, that's one of the coolest fight scenes in the show. But yeah, that's about it for him. Then we have Cannonborg, who was a little more interesting. He was the upgrade specialist. He upgraded things. He made the monsters stronger. He gave Yarukar an upgrade. He was a lot meaner to the Sense Eaters as well than Mad Rex, of course. And he was also just generally, I think, more threatening. And I like his design a lot. I like that he looks like a big brain with glasses. So yeah, Cannonborg was fun. And we have Disrace, who is, his big thing is with Genba. I mentioned Genba. He was the one who took over Genba's planet. So Genba was obviously really mad at him and wanted to get his revenge on him, which is pretty much the catalyst for his entire story arc. I liked Disrace. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention about Mad Rex was the dog. I love the little banana dog he has. That banana. I just think that's really fun, and I like how they brought it back too. Anyway, Disrace. Every general has every general has an animal partner. So Mad Rex has the dog. Cannonborg has the little candlestick thing on his that he carries around. Yeah, Disrace has his snake, and Spindo has a chimpanzee, because of course he does. I'll get to that. But yeah, I thought that was fun. I think Disrace was good. He was fine. I honestly kind of liked the other two more, but I thought Disrace was a very good threat. I liked his Genba's rivalry with him, and how Genba is ultimately the one who defeats him. I just thought that was perfect. But yeah, let's talk about the big ones. So we have Grant's Risk and the big bad Waruido Spindo. Oh boy. I have a bit to say about Spindo. Let's talk about Grant's first, because he's just there. He's probably my least favorite of all the villains. He is just there. He's threatening. He beats the Boonboonger's asses a couple times, but he just gets killed at the end with kind of no fanfare, and this is a problem that I have with the finale, which, I love the finale. I thought it was great, but one problem is I thought both him and Spindo were taken down a bit too fast and easy. So yeah, that's about all I have to say about Grants, honestly. I don't really care about him. Spindo, on the other hand, he's very fun. He's very fun and menacing. He is a walking, talking Michael Jackson reference, which is why he has the chimpanzee, because Michael also had that. And MJ had a chimpanzee, I don't remember the name of it, that he always brought with him into interviews and stuff. He also had a snake. Actually, I'm pretty sure all the animals on... are all the animals on the, that the generals have, are all of them Michael Jackson references? I think, because the snake definitely is. I know Michael had a snake. I really like that Spindo has all the Michael Jacksonisms. He, constantly goes ooh, oh, I like that he talks like Michael Jackson, kinda, and he does the poses as well. The final, I love the final, his final form, basically, which is when in the episode where Bundorio dies, and he does the freaking Michael Jackson "This Is It" pose, and then his outfit turns all white into the freaking smooth criminal look. It's perfect. It's amazing. With that said, I do think he got taken down a bit too easily. I liked his. I thought he was very flashy and threatening for that entire episode. But I don't know. I feel like the show needed one more episode. Just one more episode. Maybe they should have dedicated the entire final episode to taking down Grants, and then the next episode could have been, now we can fight Spindo. I think that way it would have been a little better, instead of just taking them both out in quick succession back to back. Still though, I really liked the final episode on an emotional level. I thought the character arcs were all wrapped up nicely. Even Spindo, I thought the way he was taken down was good. I just wish it hadn't happened so quickly. Now, there is one thing that I need to talk about that I haven't yet. I mentioned it a little bit earlier with Sosuke, which is this show has, for some reason, multiple cameos from previous Sentai actors. reprising their roles, which is kind of weird. This season feels like, I feel like they were, I kind of hope that this is just preparing us for go-onger, because this season almost sort of feels like a pseudo anniversary season, like something like Ju-Ojo Go-Ranger, where it's not an anniversary season, but they do have anniversary aspects, or Bokenger, because this season not only features a bunch of returning actors, it also has a couple of references. Remember which episode was it? It was like 30 something. There was an entire episode dedicated to Mira working at like a curry store, and it was Edogawa's curry restaurant from Go-Ranger. Like, the owner of the curry shop was called Edogawa, and she talked about how her grandfather used to own the place or whatever, and the implication is that her grandfather was Commander Edogawa from Go-Ranger. And I mean, I really liked it, but I thought it was weird that this anniversary style episode is in this show of all shows. Although I do love that the curry at the end also like had the 5-star Go-Ranger colors, which I loved. Yeah, that episode just made me geek out. I loved it. But anyway, back to the actors. So early on in the show, but even before the show came out, we knew that this show was going to tie in to go-onger and Tokkyu-Oh. Those were the big rumors, and it wasn't a very big like stretch to say that it would, because we just had King-Oger do the whole team up with Kyoryuger, but King-Oger handled it much better, I think. It just did. King-Oger went out of its way to try to establish a connection between Kyoryuger and King-Oger, and try to establish why it is that we're doing this team up, why this makes sense in the show. Not Go-onger. Boonboomger doesn't really do that much. It's like episode 8. I think it's episode 8. Sosuke just shows up out of nowhere, and Speedor as well. Like, they're just there, and this is how most of the returning episodes go, which is Sosuke shows up, the previous returning ranger shows up, they help the Boonboomgers fight, and then they give like a little speech or whatever, and then they leave. That's literally how it goes. It honestly feels it feels forced. It feels forced. I'm not even gonna say, I'm not gonna say I didn't absolutely lose my shit when Joe from Go-Kaiger came on screen, and they brought back the Go-Kaiger OST and had him use his Ranger key and turn into Boon Blue and everything. I loved that fan service. That kind of thing works on me. But then I left. But the moment he left, he gives Taya Princess Nicola's pendant, and then he just leaves, and I'm like, that's it? That's all he's here to do? You went to the trouble of bringing back his actor, and you're not even going to give him a bigger role? So, it's like, I love the tribute episodes. The main reason why I love the previous Sentai tribute episodes in Go-Kaiger was because they weren't just there for fanservice. Like, obviously fanservice was the main thing first and foremost, but I really loved when the tribute episodes not only tied up loose ends from the previous show, from the tribute show, but also helped to develop the Go-Kaigers. My favorite examples of this are like the Magi Ranger one, where Kai comes back from Magi Ranger, and he's there, and we get to see how much he's matured since Magi Ranger. But he teaches Doc how to be braver and have courage, which is a big part of his character development, and I think that episode is very good for Doc. And then you have the Time Ranger episode, which doesn't really do that for any specific ranger, but it does tie up a big loose end from Time Ranger, which is, we get to see Domon reacting to like his son that he never got to meet because he was born after Domon left the past at the end of Time Ranger, which I just love. My favorite thing about Go-Kaiger is those episodes, them tying up those little stories and also moving their story along forward with these characters. The Boonboomger ones don't really do that most of the time. Like, yeah, technically Joe had a role in the story because he was the one who gave Taya the pendant, but like it didn't need to be Joe. There was no reason for it to be Joe to do that. They could have just had literally, they could have had anyone do. They could have had Genba do that. He is the procurement guy. He could have had a message from Nicola saying, hey, come get the necklace or whatever. They didn't need to have Joe do it, even if I liked seeing Joe again. The only tribute episode that I genuinely think was done really well was the Tokkyu-Oh one, because goddamn it, Akira and Wright, I think they did really well. Well, mostly Akira. I think Wright was a nice little bonus, but Akira was the one who did all the heavy lifting here. He was... Okay. I got actual chills when I heard Akira's harmonica again. It has been years since I've seen Tokkyu-Oh. I missed that thing. I missed that guy. Akira was one of my favorite characters. He was my favorite 6th Ranger at one point, so seeing him again, just immediately, was wonderful. Because unlike, yeah, I liked seeing Joe again, but it hasn't been that long since Tengo Kaiju. Well, it has been a bit long, but, Joe is a character that I see a lot more, and I expected to come back a lot more than Akira, who genuinely hasn't shown up in Sentai for like 10 years. And I haven't seen anything with him since 2020. So yeah, seeing him again was really great, and I really loved... This was a genuinely Go-Kaiju level tribute episode, because Akira is the one who convinces Genba to join the Boonboomgers again. And I love that, because not only does it advance Genba's character arc, it resolves his whole revenge quest. It makes him see that he needs help and he can't do this alone. It also ties into Akira's arc that he had back in Tokkyu-Oh, because he went through something very similar, and I just love that. I love that they use Akira like that, because it's the perfect way to use that character, to have him use his own experience to help another character who's going through a similar thing. From one Orange Ranger to another. So yeah, Akira's pretty awesome. What is it with Orange Rangers and being loner types? I haven't seen Q Ranger, but I know Stinger has a similar thing, doesn't he? So yeah, Akira was great. And of course, it was just wonderful seeing Wright again at the end as a nice little bonus. His actor, I love that his actor actually went out of his way to show up. Because originally they had just hired him for a voice cameo. He was only supposed to show up in suit and the actor would do the voice again. But he really wanted to show up in person. So he took time out of his super, super busy schedule to get 2 hours of filming with Toei so that he could film that final scene on the building. And it was nice seeing him again. Because honestly, ever since, I love Tokkyu-Oh. I love Tokkyu-Oh. It's one of my favorite Sensais, and I've always wanted to see a 10 years after special. It didn't happen, and it's not gonna happen, because it seems like a lot of the actors aren't really interested in coming back. But this was a very nice consolation. So yeah, that was the one that I really liked. That was the one tribute episode in Boonboomger that I really liked. And then Speeder just fucking comes back. I find it really weird that there was just one episode. I don't even remember which episode this was. But, in the middle of a completely normal episode, during a battle, Speedor from go-onger just shows up again. We already had the tribute episode with go-onger with Sosuke and everything. Why is Speedor back all of a sudden? And he doesn't even really do anything else. I guess they just felt like it. Yeah, that was weird. But yeah, that's pretty much all of my thoughts on Boonboomger. I don't really have much else to say. I like this show a lot. I'm very excited for Go-Juger coming up. And yeah, I'll probably make a video on the Go-Juger premiere when it does air. I'm not going to make full episode reviews for Go-Juger. I don't know. I don't really feel like it. Especially because I have a problem with keeping up with Sentai Weekly. I tend to miss episodes a lot of the time, and I have to catch up and binge a few episodes. So I'm not going to be making weekly reviews or anything for Go-Juger, but I do plan on covering it throughout its run, and I definitely plan on making videos on any other kind of Super Sentai stuff that releases any team up, the Boonboomger King Oger team up. I'm definitely going to talk about it. So yeah, stay tuned for that, I guess. And if you want to hear me talk about other stuff, because I have plenty to yap about, I don't necessarily have to talk always about Sentai. There's plenty of other stuff I could do. So if you have any requests, maybe, I don't know. I'm just going to sign off now. So yeah, that's it for Bakuage Sentai Boonboomger. Another notch in the Reiwa era's belt. See ya. Bye-bye.